What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ball Does Lie podcast, your one-stop shop for NBA content. I'm your host, Brendan, alongside my co-host, Amir. We got one of potentially three parts of trade content. We'll see where this ends up, but trade deadline coming up soon here, Amir. A lot of action today. We're recording this on Tuesday, February 3rd, and we had just gotten actually word of the Bulls and Celtics trade. Anthony Simons heading over to Chicago while the Bulls get Nikola Vucevic. Both also exchanged second round picks, but the headline trade from today, at least in the headline trade probably so far, as we approach this deadline, has been the Jazz acquiring Jaren Jackson Jr., sending Walter Clayton, Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, and three future first-round picks to the Memphis Grizzlies. So, Amir, to get you involved in this, what are your initial thoughts here on the Triple J trade? And what do we make of the Jazz now? Are the Jazz making their move here? Are they finally going to stop tanking? Or are they still maybe two or three moves away from really actually starting to compete?
The Jazz are never going to compete. They're like 7 moves away. Like, what? Why the hell did they make this trade? It's so interesting. I mean, I kind of am intrigued by the front court of Lowry and Triple J, but Triple J is a disappointment, and that's why he's getting traded. Like, he's a solid player. Like, I thought he was going to be one of the best two-way players in the NBA, and he hasn't. He's still young, but he hasn't really like lived up to the hype, I would say. Um, and the Memphis Grizzlies look like they're fully rebuilding. Like, Jaw has to be next. I can't imagine Jaw not getting traded by Thursday or this offseason at this point because he's going to be looking to get an extension. I know he has another year left next year, but Jaw, it doesn't seem like he's part of the future plan as well. And, they've already got a ton of assets, I think, which they've done well by trading Bane. And now Jaren, they got 7 first-round picks. So they have a ton of assets and probably not going to get those same types of picks for Jaw. I think his value is more like in the Trey Young kind of stratosphere. Like maybe a team will give him one pick or probably a swap, but it's just an interesting trade. Like, I don't know what the Jazz are trying to accomplish or what are they actually trying to do. I mean, he's a very good defensive player still. Um, I don't think he should have won his DPOY, which was like 2 years ago or whatever it was. I think it was kind of a lucky DPOY. Maybe they just didn't want to give
Down year for defensive player of the year for sure.
right? Like, whatever. They didn't want to give Rudy like his 7th. Like, they didn't want to give Joker his like 4th MVP or whatever. So, odd trade, but like I still think the Memphis Grizzlies getting 3 picks for someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. I think is pretty solid so far. Yeah, the Grizzlies are going young. I mean, they have Jalen Wells, they have Cedric Coward from Fresno, California. Shout out to him.
Shout out Fresno. Shout out. Yes, sir.
They got what's his name? What's the Spencer's name? Pat Spencer's bro's name.
Yeah, they got Cam Spencer, baby.
They got
Cam Spencer.
So they have a lot of young guys, and they're just going to tank. And now they have all these picks as well. So hopefully they can hit and get a superstar potentially. They did pretty good though drafting internally with Bane, Triple J, and Jaw. It just didn't work. They got to the Western Conference Finals, I believe, ran into the Curry Warriors, and just dealt with injuries and just couldn't build around that core. So they're blowing it up. I think it's a weird trade. I don't know. What are your thoughts, like with the Jazz getting involved?
Yeah, I think great trade for the Grizzlies. If you're going to start a rebuild, this is exactly how you do it. Collect as many draft assets as you possibly can. And then from the Jazz perspective, I guess we're running a Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, Triple J, big three. Not sure how far that moves your needle here in a very loaded Western Conference. But if you're a Jazz fan, I think you're at least somewhat optimistic that finally your team's going to start trying. We've been in this rebuild since they've gotten rid of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert for the last 3-4 years of them just purposefully not doing anything. Them holding on to Lauri Markkanen finally at least makes a little bit of sense since I didn't deal him in the last 2 off seasons. But this all leads now, I guess, to what does Ja now net for the Grizzlies. And as you were saying, interesting that Triple J is going to grab all these first round picks. And, what do you think? You think Ja nets maybe one? which is insane to say and think about. Just 3 years removed from him potentially being the face of the NBA. Um, so
No kidding.
exciting times for the Grizzlies. Honestly, I know it's a little bittersweet since they were kind of on the cusp of becoming a real contender in the West, but given all the bad news they've gotten in the last 2 years, I think it's at least encouraging that this management team now has a path forward. And if you're ever going to collect a bunch of draft picks, this year's draft is the year to do it. So excited to see, honestly, what the Grizzlies are able to come up with here. Any final thoughts on the Jazz and Grizzlies picks? I thought you kind of nailed this trade pretty well. We can maybe get into what the Bulls and Celtics have gotten done.
Yeah, I just think we're on jaw watch at this point. So who's willing to take a risk on jaw? Who's going to be willing to maybe extend him? Because if you trade for him, he's going to be making like what 40 something million next year as well. So
Yeah,
who's going to be willing to extend him? Like, why would you want to get jaw as a rental? I mean, maybe you do it because you give up a Corey Kispert, CJ McCollum expiring contract, no pick kind of package where you're just like, let me see if a new change of scenery like motivates him, perhaps, right? Like, let's see if it's a good fit. So I guess there could be teams that do take the risk because of that and then reward him. So we'll see. I think Jaw is the next domino to fall. I think Jaw is the Jaw move hasn't happened yet because of the honest thing that hasn't happened yet, right? That's getting close as well. Is that going to happen? Who knows? We'll see. It doesn't seem like anything's going to happen tonight, but we do have another full day tomorrow before the actual deadline on Thursday. So we got like what, a day and a half after tonight. So we'll see what happens.
yeah, we will. I'll honestly still be kind of surprised if Giannis does get moved here. I don't. To me, it just seems like the Bucks should wait for this offseason to deal him. Why rush and really see what you can get for him as opposed to
Leverage,
all these
though.
teams. Now, I will say there
Leverage
is
for
the
the
leverage,
Bucks. And Giannis can
and
dictate where he wants to go more so. Like, I'm sure they want to play with Giannis and be like, thank you for winning us a championship. Like, they're not going to send him to anywhere, I would assume, right? I think they're
no,
obviously.
they'll do right by Giannis. I think there's a big mutual respect between both sides, even as awkward as these last couple months have been between the Bucks and Giannis. But I think they want to do right by Giannis. They gave it one last big swing to see if they could keep Giannis around. Not going to happen. But I guess your Heat are positioned right now probably best to grab potentially both Ja and Giannis. So before we move over to the Bulls and Celtics, how does that make you feel as a Heat fan? Are you waiting for this? Are you hoping for this to happen?
I'm not fucking waiting. Are you kidding me? I'm hoping, obviously. There's no waiting, there's no expectation. But Chris Haynes and someone else, I think, said that Jaw basically only wants the Miami Heat or expects to go to the Miami Heat, I think. But who cares? Like, I don't know. Like, that reporting doesn't mean anything to me. Last year, 2 years ago, Dame said Miami and Miami only, and look what happened. Like, Dame was playing like Will Smith, Welcome to Miami, like, and posting on his Instagram and just like doing all these subliminal things and said only Miami, and he went to the Bucks, right? Like, so that's a little
Got
different than
sent
the
to
Josh
Milwaukee.
because
Totally.
yeah, adding Dame, that was more disappointing because we had Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Like, adding him as that piece would have potentially got us over the hump. So I think that would have been a better fit than just him and Giannis, basically with a washed Middleton. I think a playoff Jimmy with a Damian Lillard and Bam Adebayo could have been a ridiculous trio. But
Yeah.
I'm just hoping at this point to get both would be ridiculous, but there's a path because, again, Jaw's value so low. Because if we can offer like a Rozier expiring contract and a Fontecchio and like a second round pick to get Jaw, that would leave us to give all our young assets and all the first round picks to get Giannis. So chances of them getting both, I would say maybe like 30% chance for the Miami Heat. I would say to get both, to get Giannis, I'll say it's 50-50. To get Jaw, I think it's 70-30. I think that's my prediction.
Okay. And those are pretty solid numbers. I still am just in shock over that package you listed for Ja Morant. It's because
I
I
know.
think that is about what his value is at, especially given what Trey Young went for. And it's that just sounds ludicrous if you think about this, from a headspace just 2-3 years ago. All right. Well, so staying in the Eastern Conference, two of your rivals here. We'll hit this trade before we wrap up this part
Oh, there's
one
a breaking news. It looks like there's
as we're
breaking
recording
news.
here.
Yep, Shams is breaking the Los Angeles Clippers are trading James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers for Darius Garland and a second-round pick. Sources tell ESPN. There's a Shams
Wow.
bombs, not a Woj bomb, but a Shams bombs. Um, Huge. Yep, just happened right now.
That
Making it official.
that is and this hard. Okay, so now as we pivot to James Harden, what?
Just screw Vucevic. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, my whole angle on that trade would have been, well, okay, Anthony Simon's gone. I know long term that was never going to be a plan for the C's, but he was kind of a great little flamethrower they could throw in the game and instant scoring off the bench. But now James Harden here obviously is going to take precedent. The Harden saga with the Clippers has been bizarre.
mm-hmm.
Um, he has the whole press conference talking about how he's home. He wants to build a legacy in Los Angeles. He wants to build up the Clippers. They start off this season horribly. We're all panicking, knowing the Thunder own their pick unprotected. So we're thinking they're handing the Thunder
Right.
a potential lottery pick. And now they've won what, 16 out of their last 20.
18 out of 22.
18 out of 22. And now he's requesting the trade and gets dealt
What a
to
joke.
Cleveland. I
What? What a
I,
loser.
I just can't. I just don't understand the thinking from James Harden's perspective. So I guess yeah, instant reactions for you right now with James heading to Cleveland. What does this do for the Cavs?
Great
What the
move.
hell does this do for the Clippers now after they've been hot? What is what are the main takeaways here?
Great move, technically, like because Darius Garland's been just always injured the last couple seasons, hasn't been good enough. Like, I don't know about the fit with freaking Mitchell, but like there was murmurs that Mitchell might be not looking to extend again with the Cavs. Remember the last extension? Like he didn't do it immediately. He could have signed an extension with the Cavs like during the summer, and then he like waited like till the last minute or so and finally did it. But I don't know what that fit's gonna look like. But Mobley, maybe next year could be all NBA third team. Like having him play with Mobley and Jared Allen, like that's gonna be huge for those types of guys. Look what he did with Capella.
Oh,
Look what he
100%.
look what he did with whoever insert some other scrub. I mean, Capella's not a scrub, but you know what I mean. Like just insert some guy like Zubac. Look at Zubac. Obviously not a scrub. I'm not referencing him as a scrub, but like look at Zubac compare to the years before without Harden. Like he has made a career for him. Obviously, Zubac is a good player. He earned it himself as well, but he unlocked Zubac. He's unlocked Clinton Capella back in the Houston days. That's a huge asset right there. Yeah, even at this age, he's still going to be an amazing, dynamic playmaker, but he's going to be pounding that goddamn ball, and it doesn't lead to winning. And it might lead to winning in the regular season, but Brendan, what does it lead to in the playoffs?
Well, leads to a lot of no shows from James. And as
Correct.
someone who does love James Harden, I know I'm maybe in the minority on that. It's painful when it really becomes winning time, and James seems to always have his worst moments in those games and in those really tight situations. But so now Cleveland with a backcourt of Donovan and James, pretty interesting pairing.
Right.
Both extremely ball dominant guards. But like you said, James pairs really nicely with their bigs. He's gotten a lot of bigs paid, a lot of money. So how do you think that fit is going to work in the backcourt between Donovan and James? Do you think Donovan now moves a little bit more off ball? I can't imagine James moving off the ball with the way he plays. And Donovan, I can imagine a little bit more of a slasher. And we saw him kind of take that backseat last year. Not necessarily a backseat, but definitely played more off the ball with Darius Garland. And since he struggled so much this season, I'm kind of excited to see Donovan potentially get back to that style of basketball here with James.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to be off ball. I mean, James Harden needs the ball in his hands, obviously. So I think Donovan, will be more of that traditional shooting guard, even though he's a combo guard. They're both combo guards, technically. Even though Harden started off as a shooting guard, he's become more of a point guard facilitator, obviously, in the last, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it's been for Harden. So, yeah, I think he's going to have to play more off ball, more in that catch and shoot capacity, but he's also going to be their most clutch guy still. It's still his team. Donovan's still young in his prime, obviously still a bucket. So I think in the fourth quarter in the clutch time, like they're going to run the offense through Donovan. They have to, right? I would assume, but like James needs the ball in his hands, so like the usage between the two is going to be super high, I would say, obviously, but it could be it's my turn, your turn kind of situation. Like I don't know how well Harden can fit with a Donovan Mitchell. I don't know. What do you think that fit's going to look like? You think it'll look
Yeah.
like?
I think it'll be a little clunky to start, but they're both such great players. And again, I think Donovan's voice, he necessarily doesn't want to be the guy to always pound the rock and create everything. I think he was looking for some relief in playmaking, and James will obviously give a ton of that. Another point I think that'll work well is James, as you know, you can say whatever you want to say about how he shows up in the playoffs. In the regular season, the guy shows up every night, plays every game, and gives you a triple double damn near every night on pretty efficient shooting and gets everybody involved. He does a great job in the pick and roll. He's a great passer, one of the best playmakers in NBA history. And I think Donovan's going to learn a ton from playing alongside James. And I think now Donovan gets to unlock some of his off-ball game. He's such a great cutter, such an explosive athlete. I think this opens up a ton of different variables for Cleveland's offense. And Cleveland has been smoking hot the last 10, have won 8 of their last 10 with big wins two wins against Orlando. They beat the Lakers. They beat Philly in back-to-back games. So now, as we look at kind of the Eastern Conference standings, Cleveland sits at 5th, and they're right in the mix.
3 games from
And
second. It's crazy.
yeah, 3 games, and we were kind of waiting for Cleveland to wake up all year. They were my preseason pick to win the East. And now here they are in kind of a great spot right before the All-Star break. So real quick to end part 1 here of our trade deadline, what do we think happens with the Cavaliers? Do we think now they're bona fide to be a top 3 seed here? Do they jump the Celtics, or do we still see them in that kind of 3 to 6 range in the East?
I say 3 to 5. I say they stay within the 3 to 5, maybe even 2 to 5. Honestly, like it might be a little hard to catch the Pistons, and the Pistons made a move too. I mean, they traded Jaden Ivy, and
Yeah,
they got Kevin Horter. Now they have Herter along with Duncan Robinson. They've added more shooting around Cade and around Jalen Duren. Like that's solid right there in its own right. But yeah, they could probably get second or third. Like the Knicks have been playing a lot better too. We've been doing episodes on how they've been playing horribly defensively, but their defense has picked up. They've been pretty solid themselves. But I would say like adding James, as long as it doesn't disrupt the chemistry that like tremendously, which I can't expect it would in a negative way, like they're going to be a team to look out for, and they have a very good backcourt now, and I could see them leapfrogging a team like Toronto that's still young and playing great in their own right. And same with the Celtics, but the Celtics are missing Jason Tatum now, so they did add Vucevic, though I think that could be solid. They needed a big, but Vucevic is like not the same Vuce as he was, Orlando days and the beginning of his Chicago days, like, but still a double machine. So it's
absolutely
interesting, like moves that these teams are making to solidify their opportunity, at the halfway point to build this chemistry to make these runs in the playoffs in a wide open East. So, what do you think about the Vucevic before we close? Do you think they could? Do you think that's a good move? I know he's like 35, 36. He's an older player, but not the best defender, which the Celtics pride themselves on, but like some guy who could spread the floor, he can get you 15 points, 9 rebounds. Like, how big of a
Yeah.
move is that for them for very cheap?
Yeah, I for what they had to give up, just Simons and a second round pick, sure. I don't necessarily love the move. I don't hate the move. But with this Jason Tatum return kind of looming, it does make sense. And like you said, they need a big. They desperately needed some depth with their 4s and 5s, and I think Vucevic at least gives them a little bit of relief there. But the Celtics are they're just such a winning culture. Jaylen Brown's playing like an MVP, and that's what's really going to drive everything for this season. I think they're just happy to even be this good at this point without their superstar. Now they basically confirmed they have 2 bona fide number ones that can lead teams and lead to a lot of winning. So I think Vooch will just add to this team. I think he's purely additive. They didn't lose much with Anthony Simons. I did love him coming off the bench and being that instant offense, as I said, but I think Vucevic is a much more solid player that they can rely on come playoff time. I know he hasn't been there in a while, but anytime you can build depth in your front court, that's a huge plus. So as someone that loves Jaylen Brown and loves watching him, I'm excited to see what this does for their team, especially offensively, because Vucevic is so versatile as a pick and roll big, a catch and shoot big. So he's going to give them a ton of different options now. But exciting trade deadline. Started off, I think, a bit slow, and we were all waiting. I think when the Keon Ellis Kings trade happened, DeAndre Hunter going to Sacramento, we all kind of rolled our eyes, thinking, what has the apron done to our beloved trade deadline? And here we go. We're still getting pretty crazy moves left and right. The NBA never in doubt of being dramatic. All right, Amir. Well, as we close here, any final thoughts here on the trades? We have more that I'm sure we're going to have to talk about tomorrow and Thursday, but any lasting impressions here before we sign off?
What's your one bold prediction for a trade that's been talked about? Giannis, Ja, whoever, maybe Zion's, like Levine, whatever, Sabonis, or someone from left field gets traded. What's your bold prediction or hot take?
The bold prediction is going to be Sacramento's going to be involved in something ridiculous again. This is not necessarily bold. I think we all can see this happening. But I can see the Kings and the Lakers getting involved in something that both fan bases will roll their eyes at and be a bit disappointed in. And I have a weird feeling the Lakers are going to deal Rui Hachimura for something where they're getting 60 cents on the dollar. That's my big prediction there. And then I think the second one will be nothing happens with the Dubs. They don't make a move. The Bay Area has been just absolutely fiending for a change to get Kuminga, now Draymond, and of course Pajemski off their rosters. I think they're all are there by February 6th. I don't see that changing for them. I think they've waited too long. Dunleavy has kind of ruined his chances and killed his trade value for a lot of his key trade assets.
Yeah, and whatever. The freaking Warriors have had a lot of success over the last decade.
They had their time.
10 years. They've had enough success. Let them take.
2022, I think, was their final send off, and that was, they should have that title in itself was a miracle, and I think solidified Steph's greatness. And I think that was it. That was the last run they I think will get. So
that was huge.
We'll see.
That was a big FU to KD. I got 2 without you. Get the hell out of here. Thanks for helping me get 2. But a different conversation because I say KD was the best player on those championship teams. People will argue and say it was because of Steph and yada yada yada. But obviously KD was the best player once he joined that team. But anyway,
it's interesting conversation. Yeah, that one we could go on for an hour just on that debate alone.
Yes, for sure. My hot take: LeBron gets traded to the Cavs by the deadline.
Wow. So you think he waives the no trade clause and is like, "Give me to Cleveland"? That's definitely not out of the realm of possibilities, and both sides seem to be sick of each other. I like that one. I like LeBron going back for a homecoming there to end the season. Does Bronny go with him?
No, he stays in LA. He gets to stay in the LA mansion. LeBron goes back to the Cleveland mansion, by himself. So there was reports also, whatever, that said that LeBron and the Lakers might be headed for a divorce or possibly going to part ways. Or I don't know. I forgot who was it, Ramona Shelbourne or someone reported something. There's a possibility of that. We saw the whole Genie Bus and LeBron stuff, whatever, weeks ago. So why not go back home for the second time, I guess, right? And end your career in your home state, your hometown, and try to win them another championship because they haven't been relevant ever unless you're on the team. So, you know what I mean? They've been relevant in the regular season with Donovan Mitchell and all that, over the last 5 years, but they've playoffs, no success without LeBron, right? As the number one guy, but he comes in now he hasn't played with Harden yet, and that could be funny. James Harden, LeBron James and Donovan
and
Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell altogether.
Could
And
be
do you think this happens before the deadline? Do you think
that's what I'm
this?
saying. That's my hot take.
Wow, that is a hot take. That is a hot take,
It's my
and
bold prediction. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but like it's like my bold.
that is bold. I like that bold prediction. And yeah, this was reported. Jake Fisher was a reporter who reported that they are headed for, in his words, a divorce. Yeah, they think it'll be this summer, but hey, I didn't see James Harden requesting a trade all of a sudden, getting shipped out to Cleveland right when the Clippers started playing well. So anything can happen in this league. Well, thank you, Amir. Want to say thanks and appreciate your time jumping on here to talk trade deadline. I'm sure we'll be talking tomorrow. And thank you all for watching. This has been another edition of the Bald is Live podcast. If you do like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.